Hello and welcome to another video. Today I'm going to be colouring in these two little guys. They are golden crowned kinglets and it's part of the Birdtober 2024. And I'm going to be using alcohol ink markers because I've discovered my very cheap sketchbook handles alcohol markers fairly well actually. As you can see by this little guy, this was the Northern Mockingbird, and I'm really chuffed with how well this book is taking the markers, because everything else that I've tried them on, I haven't really had much joy. I'm going to be using a mix of Hoo markers and these. What are these? They're not like a brush tip. Is it a bullet tip it's called? I don't think so. Yeah, and that's the chisel tip. Maybe it's called a bullet tip, I'm not sure. But it's not very flexible and it's difficult to get a fine point on it. So we'll see how we go, because these drawings are quite tiny. I don't know why I draw so small. It always makes it a huge challenge afterwards. Okay, and I haven't really got much time, so I'm going to just crack on and probably be fairly silent. And isn't it funny, when you go back and you look at a sketch, you see all the errors and mistakes in it, but we're just going to ignore them and just carry on. Getting this dark colour just here, kind of does that. And it's a bit darker below, so I'll give another layer there. And then we'll go up to WG2, which is also a warm grey, but just a little bit lighter. We'll put that under as well. And then down to my lightest colour, which is WG 0.5, for the biggest area. And there's quite a lot of that under here as well, I think. Just because I don't really have any alternatives, I'm going to show it here as well. It should be lighter again, but I don't have that, so it is what it is. And then just here, with a bit of a darker one, but not much. It's funny how that's kind of blended in. Maybe I want that, I don't know. Okay, and I think we've got a little bit more of this under here as well. Basically just a few spots of a creamishy colour in there, which I'm going to find quite hard to achieve. But we do what we can, just sort of dot around, whoops, this darker colour. Okay, and then there is this quite sort of dark edge of that. Let's see if I can achieve that. I may wish that I just hadn't bothered, but let's go for it anyway. I'm going to use a different colour for that, I think. I'm going to leave the wings until later. I may be using those colours again for the wings. I should really show you the picture of the bird. Where is it? There he is. Sorry about that, guys. Beautiful little thing. All greens and then that beautiful bright colour. And I've got another one here that I'm going to try and draw afterwards. Oh, that's going to be that guy. I'm going to go for the greens now. And I've got this really desaturated one, or I hope is desaturated, which I think I'll just cover most of his back with. So just cover it with this mostly. How high does it go? Pretty high actually. Such a beautiful bird. And then there are sort of wispy bits along here. Bit of that green colour. And a different kind of grey in there, like a cooler grey, I think. So, right, and then this is darker in places, so I'm going to try and go over it again where it looks darker to me. And then I've got this colour, GY7, I'm not sure. GY7, where's that? Yes, it's a more saturated colour, so I feel a little bit nervous about that because I just want a darker colour actually. Let's try it out. Yeah, I think that might do actually. I'm going to massively regret this, I think, but it doesn't matter. Maybe I can go back over it with the desaturated one to take out some of that. I think I'm going to have to because that is intense. Look at that. Oh, poop. Let's see, go over it again and see if that does anything to sort of desaturate it. That's it. Yeah. I don't know what I think of that. So I'm going to move on and I'm going to just pop some of this green where I can see it in other places. Yeah, that's gone really... I wonder if I can put a grey on it or like a brown. What about that light brown? This is going to ruin it completely, isn't it? Let's just try it though. Try and desaturate it. Maybe grey would have been... Well, this is a kind of grey. No, I don't think that helped. What's the opposite of green? Maybe if I used a warm... That was a warm grey, wasn't it? Yeah. Well, let's leave that dry and see if it... Just add a bit more of this here. Okay. Now I'm also seeing some of the grey here, green here, sorry, not grey. And just kind of odd wisps of it here. Just a little bit of a creamishy colour under the eye there. Just in little spots. I might do all that in crayon because I don't really have any darks that would do that, bizarrely. They're all quite bright colours. Apart from that, let's give that a go. So it goes underneath there. And then the eye as well. Alright, we'll leave that for now. It doesn't look too bad actually for the dark bits of the wing, that colour, so I'm going to keep that for after. And now I can see that there's some of that green is in the wing itself, so I need to find that desaturated green. Where did I put it? Yeah, dim green, there you go. So just in some stripes. And then a little bit, it's quite a dark green by there. GY5, gosh, I regret this. It does seem dark, but where am I even? I'm putting it right there, aren't I? At the front of this wing. This is completely the wrong colour, but I'm wondering if I can go over the top of it with my desaturated one again. Sort of blend it out. Don't know what I'm doing here, as you can tell. I'm very new to alcohol markers, actually. In fact, most mediums that aren't pencil. It's all experimental. We're just going to see how we go. Right, let's get some other colours on there. The yellows I've got don't feel right. You know, they don't look like they're the right colour. But let's whack them on anyway. Get them on there. And see? I mean, that does not look yellow enough. Let's see if this will... What? It looks green, doesn't it? Gee, I've got yellow, green. Is that right? That's because it wasn't yellow, it was green that I just whacked on there. So we're going to go... I think this was the colour I meant to put on first. Gosh. Again, it doesn't look very bright. So let's try a little bit of this. That's not the right colour. But hey ho. And on top of that, it's going to go, or around that, it's going to go really dark. Actually, I'll use that colour again. And by that colour I mean CG207. Kind of goes around the front. Too much maybe. Let's pull that yellow back a little bit, just to go beyond. I feel like I will be relying heavily upon crayons and things to get this right. So now I need kind of a light grey, warm grey. Let's try that. Darn, I'm supposed to leave some white. It's bleeding quite a bit. It's also the wrong colour. I'll put the whites back on afterwards, I think. And yeah, this is the wrong colour, I think. But we're just going to go for it. So I've decided this is going to be the lightest grey colour, and we'll just get progressively darker with it. So that was WGO50. Now I want a warm grey that's darker than that. Let's have a look. Oops. Yeah, it's brown, isn't it? So maybe I am going to have to go for the cool ones.
But it's so nerve-wracking, really, really nerve-wracking when you've come so far in a piece and then you have to take out the really dark colour. And it is difficult to stay loose and not to get all tight and worried that you're going to just ruin it. And to be fair, I'm really pleased with how it went. I feel like it ended up going quite well. Even though I do feel like I lost too many of these more subtle in-between greys, overall I'm really chuffed with how it went. I think I just need to do more of it, I just need to get used to this medium. And also the other thing about markers that's really good is that they're right there in a pot on my shelf. I can literally just grab them and start. Whereas with other things like paint, sometimes in the evenings when I've put the kids to bed and that's a time that I could spend doing art, sometimes I don't, because just the thought of getting paints out and all of that is too much. It's late, it's 8:30 at night. Everyone is tucked up in bed. And sometimes the thought of coming downstairs and pulling out paints and things, and the time it takes to mix colours and then the time it takes to tidy up afterwards. Yeah, sometimes I just don't feel like doing that. So maybe that's the time. Maybe evening time is the perfect time to focus on using something like markers, where I can just, scribble away and all I have to do is pop the lid back on. I don't even have to tidy them away. I can just leave them piled in the middle of the table if I want and deal with them tomorrow. Yeah, I think that might be the way forward.
CG050 I think I'll use. Which is that one? Let's try that. If all else fails, I can just go over it maybe, hopefully.
And that's something I'm still not very experienced with markers and coloured pencils, or just mixed media in general, to be honest, is you know, how well coloured pencils will go over something. So if I do go too dark, you know, what can I use then to lighten it back up again? Luckily in this sketch, it didn't go too badly. I wasn't in a position where I went too dark and I needed to lighten it, but I definitely need to experiment more with my markers and with pencils to see what is possible. Actually, I think probably neocolour 2s would rescue it. That's just a lack of experience, really. And I think that's one of the issues when you don't have much time for art. That time becomes really precious, and certainly I feel like I want to achieve something, so I want to create a sketch and have something to look at the end of the day. And then I just tend to stick to techniques that I know work. I think what I'm trying to say is, when you don't have much time, it's hard to devote some of that time to just messing about with different mediums, just making a mess and just pure experimentation. And I know that's missing in my art practice at the moment. So one of my intentions for 25, or like a New Year's resolution, which I'm calling my intentions just to reduce the pressure even further, because I don't do well with goal setting particularly. So one of my intentions for this year is to devote some time each week to experimenting with mediums and focusing on process rather than the outcome. So not getting out a medium I'm unfamiliar with when in a sketch, trying to use it in a sketch to create an illustration or a picture, just getting a sheet of paper and splashing some paint on it, for example, or getting the jelly plate out that I haven't used yet and having a go at that. Yeah, I really feel like it's important to dedicate time to experimental art and focus more on process rather than trying to paint something pretty.
I feel like that's a better colour anyway, so I'm going to go over this as well, which is also supposed to be this dark grey, and under here and kind of around it as well. Okay, and then I think we'll stop with the dark, maybe, and get going with a slightly lighter grey. We've got a blackish bar, so where's that really dark one? There it is. Go back with this. And I've kind of lost the plot really with where it is on this wing. I think it's kind of in the middle here somewhere. So we're just going to put it in roughly. And this over here. And then these, it's very dark under here, so I really don't know what I'm doing here. Shouldn't have done that, maybe. I don't know. I think it's coming on okay though. He's a cute little guy. I really want that desaturated. Is it called dim green? That's it. Because I feel like this is a bit too, you know, it needs to be a bit more wispy here, I think. He's a fluff ball. I really should have rubbed out the pencil maybe a bit more. Maybe I'll do that in a bit before I put any colour on him. Just going to reinstate some of these greens along here. Feels I've lost some of them a bit. A hint of green there, but a little bit down here. Yeah, this went a bit wrong here, but I don't know how to fix that, so I'm just going to leave it, I think. And yeah, just pretend that didn't happen.
So I'm feeling really relieved at this point, like all the pressure is off me. I've done the bird, as you know, as far as the alcohol markers are concerned. And then I realised that I've forgotten these legs. Oh man, and I don't know why I didn't just use coloured pencils. Why didn't I just do that? Because it's such a fine, you know, those little toes, they're so fine and thin, and it's really difficult to achieve that. If I'd have stopped there, maybe I could have gotten away with it. But, yeah. And then, of course, once those legs are just there, I feel like I'm committed to a course of action. Looking back at it now, that would have been fine. I could have just left it like that. Maybe I should have done a branch or something. That would have been better than the horrible shadow that you're about to see.
His little leg is quite dark, actually. This is probably going to look awful, but I can see a slightly reddish brown colour, so I can add other colours to that to try and make it like that's really dark. That was this colour here, WG4. Can't add that as well. For the top of it and just, oh god. Okay. Well, let's move on from that, because at the end of the day I can always, you know, probably should have left that just for colouring pencil. Sorry for that you were pushed all the way over there. Yeah. So I think I'm going to leave him where he is for now and get the colouring pencils out later this evening and have a go at just putting some of the details in and seeing what I can do about these legs. He's on a log, and there's a really dark shadow around him. It's whether or not I decide to put that in, or I might just define the edges with pencil, you know, colouring pencil, the edges of his tummy, and then that might not look so bad. I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing, basically. I'm going to have a go and hope that I don't ruin it. That's what I'm doing.
So this is future me, voiceover me, looking back at this video and just quite enjoying, actually, the process of looking back over it. And I'm about to take a little look at the very last steps that I took, the last little bits with the colouring pencil. And I'm using, I think, quite a dark colour to start with. Yeah, so I'm going in with a really dark grey. It's probably an anthracite grey or a really dark blue, I would think, because I very rarely use black. Well, in fact, I don't ever use black, I don't think. Just to darken down the edge of those feathers and give them a little bit of a form to them, a bit of shape. And it's kind of weird looking back over it. I've forgotten how enjoyable this was and how much I like the bird. I mean, I know I ruined it at the end. You shall see soon enough. But yeah, apart from the very last bits it's not even the bird that I do, it's the ground beneath him. Apart from that, I really, really enjoyed working on this bird, and also the end result. I was quite pleased with it. I think it's always really fun when you're using a medium that you're not familiar with and it turns out okay. It's always nice to get a good result. And so all I'm doing really is outlining feathers, those individual kind of wing feathers. Just really small details, but I think they make quite a big difference. I'm working my way around the bird wherever I can see in the reference image little shadows or edges, mostly, I'm just using that really dark coloured pencil to add a bit of definition and a bit of colour variation as well. Anywhere where it's all just matte, one colour, sort of a uniform colour, it's nice to go over with a little bit of coloured pencil just to add a bit of variety. And I didn't really know what to do about the outline of the bird, and that's a problem I always have with my art, is I never know whether to give it an outline or to avoid doing that. And I think what I probably should have done is given more of a, painted in a colour behind the bird. I wouldn't have had that issue. That's the thing I think I need to learn to do, is to walk away more often. Especially if I'm feeling unsure, it's to stop, walk away, or maybe just even step back, because do you know what, I don't think I even did that. I think I just ploughed on and felt like I was just committed. I'd made this huge error and I just had to try to rectify it, and instead it just got worse and worse. I'm exaggerating, it's not that bad. And it's about this point that I'm looking at the legs and I'm hating them. I really wish I hadn't added in that thicker dark brown colour. It just made them look so chunky. And that's when I make the decision to add in a shadow under the bird, and that would have been a good decision. If I had just stopped, just a bit of shadow and not gone full on sticky tar, black as black shadow. Not that I use black, I don't think, but it just is such a big, ugly, dark shape, and you'll see soon enough what I mean by that. But anyway, still detailing the beak, the eyes. Kind of not sure I think there was a nice little highlight there, and I just kind of drew over it, which is a shame. I never know when to stop. Just like tinkering, and sometimes that works out, and sometimes you really regret it. That's the shadow of the wing, on the tail feather. Yeah, just trying to break up areas of flat colour, and I think that worked quite well there. If I stop now, that will have been a success. Please stop. It's so long since I've done this now, I can't actually remember. So any time soon will be the fated decision to work on the ground beneath little birdie. Here we go. Would have been good to leave that gap as well, just below the belly. Just a little gap would have been good. Yes, if I'd have left a gap, a little streak of white, page colour, between the belly of the bird and the shadow, I wouldn't have felt the need to go so dark. I think I went so dark to try to differentiate between the tummy of the bird and the shadow. And looking back now, I just wish I'd realised that and gotten the eraser out maybe even. I'm going darker. But this is nothing. This is just a shadow, which is fine. And I'm trying to make it distinguishable from the tummy of the bird. It's the same, it's too similar a value, you see. And I just end up going darker and darker. And also, at this point, it's not doing the job I wanted it to do, which was masking those god-awful legs. Bird feet, they're just hideous. And there you go. I just don't like it. I don't like the shadow. Maybe I'm being a bit harsh on it, I don't know. Oh god, I haven't finished. Okay. Yeah. This is where it goes from being an overly dark shadow to the sticky pool of doom tar. And now you can't see anything. You can't really see the legs at all either. Right, and I think these really are the last touches now. That looks like beige, and the neocolour 2 beige colour, which I love. And just adding, again, just to break things up, just to add a little bit of variety. Trying to brighten up that yellow colour. So overall, I was really chuffed with this. It was a relatively quick project. It's a small, little bird, but sometimes a tiny little sketch like this is the perfect thing, because it's not going to take hours and hours, and it's a nice addition to your sketchbook. It's just nice.